Beach FM, locals talking to locals.
And we say good morning to the chair of the Paraparaumu Raumati Community Board, Jonny Best. Good morning, Johnny.
Good morning, Nigel. How are you?
I'm top of the world. Did we get all those trees in planting at Poplar Avenue? That's all finished, is it?
You mean the poplar trees down Poplar Ave?
Yeah. They were going to do some...
That's still work in progress.
Oh, right.
We've got to be talking to Greater Wellington Council regarding that, but we're hoping to get that happening at some stage soon.
Oh, good. Okay. And how do we get on with the council to write to the Minister of Transport requesting that they instigate a review of the acoustics road noise? Have we got that under control yet?
I believe a letter went to the Minister. I think we're still waiting for a response. But as you're aware, the Community Liaison Group and the NIF groups will be finishing up soon. I think it's next month. But, of course, we'll still be... as a board, we'll still be taking an interest in the Expressway. Yes,
they've been doing a lot of work on the Expressway at the northern end there. I think they put down bitumen rather than the chip seal, which has helped out a lot of. I've heard. Whether it's true or not, I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, it's the OGPAR, which is the open graded porous asphalt, which is quieter than the chip seal.
Yes.
That work had actually been brought forward because that was actually going to happen in a few years' time, but there was a few residents up that way that were unhappy with the noise, and that work's been brought forward. So it makes it a little bit quieter for people.
Good on you. Okay. Any further development of the Otaraua Park?
Yes. Board members actually attended a briefing at council last week.
Oh yes.
And there's a draft plan being created, and that will be going. There's going to be a report going to council at some stage, and then there'll be consultation starting 9th of July with the public for 1 month, and hopefully have a plan adopted by the end of 2018. So there's money budgeted in the long-term plan for Otaraua Park. So year one of the LTP there's about 153,000, I believe, for the drainage.
Yes.
and the planning for the amenity block there. And in years 3 and 4, there's a total of about $1.5 million for the hub block, which will include the changing facilities and things like that.
Oh, excellent, yeah. Because it's quite a nice area. It's a bit exposed, but the players seem to enjoy playing on that park. I don't know why.
Oh, look, I mean, there's some exciting things planned for the park, but I mean, I guess it's just a matter of managing the community's expectations of what can happen there, because I mean, it is going to be another long-term project, much like McLean Park, and of course it requires a lot of money, and that money is going to have to be sourced from somewhere, and my understanding is that they're trying to source money from other, or the groups that will be using the park will be having to source money from people like the Lotteries Grant and things like that.
Sure. And there was some, of course, confusion over access to it, because they're thinking of taking it off the old State Highway 1 there at one point, wasn't it? But that's a fairly expensive job.
Yeah, and I think there has been some land sort of set aside for a second entrance into the park. So, but once again, that's going to be a thing that's going to be happening in the long term.
Right.
Because there will have to be a bridge going across the railway tracks. New Zealand Rail won't let you cross railway tracks now. It'll have to be a bridge over or an underpass.
Underpass, yes, yeah. It makes sense because the drive down through Camelot there with the more use of that ground is fairly tight, isn't it?
Yeah, and I understand, the next stage of the speed reviews, they're going to be actually reviewing the speed limit down King Arthur Drive too. So.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're starting to get a bit reckless on that, are we? By the sounds of that.
I think it's just making the speed limits more appropriate for the areas as they develop.
Yes. What else did you put to the on your submissions to the LTP hearings the other day? Did you go along?
Yes. I was there for some of the submissions, and of course I was there to present our submission. So. As I've spoken to you before, we want the Raumati Beach upgrade to be sort of brought forward, and some of the town centre projects money allocated to that. And McLean Park, obviously, we'd like to get things happening there.
Yeah, sure.
And also looking at sort of, the provincial growth fund as far as, councils advocating to use the provincial growth fund to make things happen, as far as the development of the Gateway Centre and things like that. Raumati Pool, once again, having council sort of facilitate the development of that, and once again, hopefully using the provincial growth fund to actually fund it.
Yes, that's right. Well, the Kapiti Marine Reserve Guardians, they're very keen on developing that area, aren't they? And they've got the money for it too, haven't they?
I'm not sure whether they've got the money yet, but I'm sure I think they're actually sort of attempting to sort of tap into that provincial growth fund as well. So it's not just councils that can tap into it; it can be organisations as well.
Yeah, sure.
So one of the other things we also looked at was council sort of increasing their social impact funding. I mean, that hasn't been inflation adjusted for about the last 10 years. So, and of course, there's a lot of worthy organisations out there helping the most vulnerable in our society. So, and of course, their funding's been sort of cut from central government as well. So it's getting pretty tough out there.
It is indeed. All right then, Johnny. So you haven't got a board meeting for a wee while, but we'll keep up to date with what's happening in the area next Monday if we can.
Alrighty, great stuff. Thank you, Nigel.
Thank you, Johnny Best, Chair of the Paraparaumu Raumati Community Board here on Beach FM.
106.3 Beach FM.